Okay, we should be recording. How do I make sure though?
You are.
Okay, I am. Well,
Yep.
a lot of people are. That's where usually there's a little button, but they moved it. So, but I clicked record, so it better be recording. Oh, I see it on the top because I'm Zoom illiterate. All right, let's get going. Thank you all for being here today. Those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Heather Roxburgh. I am the founder of Be Epic Marketing with my partner, Kat Kobzeff. Kat, give a wave. We created Be Epic to help agents elevate their marketing and stay top of mind and grow their businesses. So we host these webinars every month to bring amazing speakers like Jamie on to give you guys some tips and some just good guidance and advice on how to grow your business and just different topics. So thank you all for coming and joining us. And Jamie, you are an icon in our industry, and we're so grateful and lucky
Uh-oh.
to have you here today. So, as you guys, most of you know, Jamie Nowak, she was with Buffini and Company in total for 29 years as a client and as a servant leader in the company. She just authored an amazing book called The CEO Mama. So we'll link to that when we send out the replay if you're interested in getting a copy. And Jamie now does executive coaching.
She
She's
now knows in
very
progress. She's
sorry, she's super passionate about business leadership, systems, just all things growing and running a business. So, and how we all live our lives. And that's kind of what she's going to talk about today. So, Jamie, take it from here.
Thank you so much, Heather. And Kat and Brooke, all of you have been so helpful in getting us to this place today to have this great conversation. Just wondering, who needs a little more freedom or focus in your day? Anyone? Like all of us, right? I mean, that's when I think about it, that's why we all got in. We wanted the freedom, we wanted the financial opportunities, and we wanted to be able to do what we wanted when we wanted, all of those things. How's that going for everyone? Yeah. Yeah, I know. And since you all know my story, I'll go through it real quick. I mean, you guys know I was raised by a superstar agent, Elaine. I have to give you an update on her because this last weekend I was in Arizona, speaking of time changing, messing us up, because they don't change it. We were celebrating her 40-year anniversary in real estate. And the legacy that she's created and the hundreds of people that showed up to just celebrate her just showed me what we do for people. You're involved in everyone's biggest celebrations and their lowest lows of losing a family member or a hard transition. And I just want to remind you all, because I know this business can be very hard. As successful as you are, it's hard because you're in the middle of everyone's drama mini series every single day, and you're trying to help them through one of the most stressful things there is, really, outside of losing someone we love and those types of things. So, 40 years in real estate, this woman, I mean, you guys have heard the story. I grew up with it, and I swore I would never get in, right? And and I swore I would never get in because it was so chaotic. It was so crazy. It looks like freedom, and then you're in your own self-imposed cage, right? So, but I did jump in after college, and after I landed that $7 an hour job, and I wanted more for my life, which is why most of you got in, is you didn't want the ceiling on your income, and you wanted the freedom and the flexibility. And very quickly, I found out, oh, well, wait, I have to be disciplined in that freedom, right? And so I found Brian Buffini, as Heather said, and we all, many of us on here, found him and his systems. And over the next 2 years of doing what the Irish guy said to do, I built a fabulous business. So much so that we ended up growing our team, Team Sansusi, and we're doing over 100 deals a year. And then they offered me the growth opportunity to run my struggling real estate office, and I threw away everything I learned about freedom and flexibility and boundaries in my business when I took over that leadership role, and burned myself out very, very fast until my coach thankfully said, "What the frost are you doing? Did you learn nothing?" And so I think it's a good thing that we're here today, because I mean, this is where I ended up over the last 25 years, coaching and helping people in their biggest business and life transformations. I've learned how they win, I've learned how they lose, and I've been a student of high performance since I was 19 years old, since my mom brought me to see Jim Rohn. I've been studying it and I've been implementing it and I've been helping other people with it. And we're all here today because we want a little more freedom and we want a little more focus in this crazy, busy, amazing life that we've created for ourselves, right? And so, and this is something I'm so extremely passionate to always talk about is how we live, how we thrive, and how our business can be a support to us instead of making us feel like we're on life support. That's ultimately what it comes down to, right? So these are the three things that I promised to cover with you today. Y'all know where I got we're going to cover three things. It is a masterful way of doing things. So we're gonna talk about some sneaky things that might be stopping you from freedom and focus. We're gonna take a little bit of time thinking unlimited. What does freedom look like for you? Help you discover that a little bit more. And we're all in different places on our journey, and some of us are better at this than others. And I'm not here because I'm an expert. This is something I'm working at every day as a student and as a mentor. And the third thing we're going to talk about is how we can actually design our day where it doesn't just move the needle, but it also gives us great capacity. We're also able to spark some joy. We're also able to create some memories with the people that we love and the people that we lead. And hopefully, we end up creating that tremendous legacy that I watched unfold with my mother over the weekend. Absolutely unbelievable. So that's what we're doing today. And it's so easy to talk about freedom and focus. And then there's real estate, right? Or you're an entrepreneur, you're running your own business, whatever you're doing, the struggle is real. We're on a constant treadmill. We've got the latest crisis or five, depending on what you've got going on in your deals. Maybe you're struggling with the fact that it's been a rough couple of years in this industry, and maybe you don't have enough business yet, and you'd like some food with your meals, or you're the major breadwinner and you're overcommitted. I know that about all of you anyway, because you're givers and you love people and you want to please them. And then some of us are leading teams and offices and people. And so we have agent issues and family matters and all the things. And we all know it because we live it. And it's the chaos where and Heather and I were talking about before we started the call live. It's like we're in default mode. Like we learned a way to be, I feel like, when we got into this business to survive. And then once you're in that mode, it's really hard to extract yourself from it. And even all of us, we've put great things into place in our businesses. We've put great systems into place. Maybe we learned how to take that day off. But the chaos is alive and well and very, very real. So, and here's a quote I love to share in this crazy, overflowing, beautiful business. Here's the good news and the truth bomb. Whatever is on your plate got there because you said yes to it. Yeah, you're welcome. So I find power in this quote because, yeah, we are masters at creating chaos. In fact, some of us are addicted to it a little like it's crack. Not that I've ever done that, but you know what I mean. Um, we're addicted to that motion. We're addicted to the busyness. We feel like when we're doing something, we must be succeeding, right? And we get into that mode and then it becomes our default. But here's the hopeful part of this situation. Like we have such an ability to create that chaos. And you know what? We do have a lot of power to control it a little bit too. And that's where I find hope in this quote, because we do have power over some things, not most things. We can't control the interest rates, unfortunately, the economy. We can't control who's in office and what the hell they're doing. Can't control any of that. All we can control is our own economy, our own environment, the best that we can. So we create a lot of this chaos. It's okay if I say that, right? We can create a little more calm. We have the power to create what I like to call pockets of peace, pockets of focus. because you need both. It can't just be the California fruits and nuts, got to be peaceful, got to be soft. It also has to be, wait a minute, baby, we got to get the stuff done that needs to get done. We got to move the needle, right? So I just want to, we have a lot of power in this. We really do. And so that's what I want to talk about today because this is where we live. It's so interesting. The thing I've been talking about a lot this year is the operating system that everything else is built on. The fact of the matter is, you are your number one asset. In your business, it's you. It's not your CRM. It's not anything. You are the number one asset. If you are not okay, nothing else is going to be okay. And if you are not okay for a long period of time, you're going to have to answer the consequences to that. And we've seen that in so many of the people around us, stuff they can control, stuff they can't, right? But in this industry, we tend to live on empty. We tend to live on fumes. We tend to keep pushing ourselves forward and hustling and making it happen because sometimes we have to. And there's been a lot of that over the last couple of years. And so we know enough to plug in the weapon of mass distraction when the bat like, oh my gosh, my phone's going to die, my phone's going to die, my phone's going to die. We understand that if it's slow or sluggish or it's not working really well, that we probably have too many windows open and we're probably doing too many things with it all at the same time. And so we'll close out the windows, we'll power it off even, right? But it's very difficult to get us to do that for ourselves. And I'm just here to remind us that that's because you're all high performers on this call. I know you. You're high performers, you're superheroes. I'm just here to remind you that the number one operating system that you have in this business and this life is you. Your body, your mind, your spirit, your soul. And I want to remind us that we need to continue to breathe life into that every single day instead of living on empty, living on low battery. We always plug in the phone. Let's take a few minutes to try to plug ourselves in regularly. So here are some things, here are some ways, some sneaky ways that we are leaking our energy, that it's stopping us from where we really could be in our lives and our businesses. Anyone say yes out of guilt instead of alignment? Staying in conversations or in relationships that quietly drain you, that aren't reciprocal. We tend to attract a lot of givers in our lives, and we also attract the takers, right? We may be carrying a mental load that could be shared, but I don't know if any of you out there are control freaks. Control freaks unite. Oh, yes, baby. But we carry the mental load that could be shared, but it never is. Right? Or, oh, here's a key one. This is the badge of honor, the badge of courage. We're pushing through instead of resting. We're pushing through, we're making it happen instead of pausing. My head is in the way. Because you tell yourself it's not that bad. I can do it. I'm strong. I'm powerful. And yes, you are. You are. But over time, you're sprinkling your magic everywhere on everyone. And that's you're giving it out, you're giving it out, you're giving it out, and you're not plugging in to get it back, to get more capacity. And or you may be spending your time and energy on things that really don't matter. I find a lot of the time we get stuck in distractions. We get stuck in a lot of the clutter. In a lot of the clutter, we create it. And I got another quote for you that I love so much is clutter isn't just the stuff on the floor. It's anything that gets between you and the life you want to be living. It's anything. It's the whatever, the overwhelming inbox. It's the messy closet. But it's also the stuff you've put on your plate, the things you've added to your calendar that no longer serve you. Maybe you started it a few years ago and you just kept doing it because nobody else will do it. You know what I'm talking about. That's clutter. And that's getting in the way of your focus and your freedom. It really is. So I love a good journal prompt, and I know many of you out there do. I want to ask you a few questions because what we have to do is move out of that mode that we maybe needed for a different season, and make sure that wherever season we're in right now, it's aligned with where we want to be going. And so it's good to check in and show up on a call like this so you can kind of regroup and say, okay, it's really good to review where we are. What and who drains me right now? Like what and who drains me right now? Whatever's popping into your mind, just write it down. What or who drains me? What is distracting me? And one of my favorite questions is, what am I doing out of habit instead of impact? What am I doing out of habit instead of impact? Where has the default mode gone out of control? Where has the default mode gone out of control? I love Tyler says, yeah, clients drain me. Yes, they do. I agree. There are many that do that, which is why it's important that we're creating those pockets of peace where they can't get in. And that gives you more capacity for when, of course, we have to serve the difficult, amazing people, right? But yes, but it's good to know who drains you. And I'm not saying maybe boot them out of your life because some of those people are very close to us, aren't they? So this is not your permission slip to get out of every relationship that drains you, but it's an awareness to say, okay, what could I do differently where maybe I'm not spending a huge majority of my time with that person during this time of my day or whatever it is. It's the awareness to say, how can I do a little bit better of controlling this or creating more capacity so that I can continue to serve these people that need my help, but that are difficult. In order to do that, we need to be fully charged. And I think a key question on this is the last question, too, is what am I doing out of habit instead of impact? It's a big deal. We need to figure out for right now, what's the most important thing for me to do in my own personal self, my health, my fitness, my operating system, my family, my business, and the other things, obviously, that you have going on, because I know the list is long and distinguished. And here's what happens if you just clear a few of those things out. You know this to be true. Just when you clean off the messy desk or you clean out the junk drawer in your kitchen, you feel kind of magical, right? It builds your confidence when you clean out some of the clutter. It's energizing, it reduces anxiety. And when you clear things out that no longer are in alignment for your life or your business, it opens space, which some of us have a hard time being in. Like when we finally sit down, we're like, okay, what do I really want? Or what is really distracting me? Or what is really draining me? It's sometimes hard for some of us to sit there in the quiet. We're movers, we're shakers, we want to help, we want to serve. But the only way that you can create more opportunity for yourself is if you let a few things go that aren't what they maybe used to be, or it's not doing what you hoped it would do, if that makes sense. And I talked about all the open windows that we have in our brain. Maybe I did. I was on another webcast earlier today, and I shared the fact that a lot of times we try to use this beautiful brain that we have in our head as a storage unit to remember all the things that we're supposed to be doing and the habits that we're supposed to be committed to. And we have all these windows open. And then we wonder why we have no willpower and we can't make a decision. It's because there's too many windows open, just like for the computer. So when we clear out a few of these things that right now do not deserve our time and our energy, and maybe you pick it up later. I'm not saying to completely delete it, but maybe you create a little space around it. Maybe you put it to the side for the time being, and your decision making will improve. And your willpower, your determination, the capacity, it will all improve. But if we can't clear anything out, we're not going to have other better opportunities. And that's what I've learned in my own life as well, and thousands of other people. Like, so as you all know, if you know me, I don't like to just talk about things. I like to give specific action steps because it drives me nuts when I listen to a podcast or I read a book and it's a bunch of great information that I cannot apply. That must be the practitioner in me, right? Practitioners unite. Remove two to five things from your list. I'm telling you, we create freedom by choosing differently. We create freedom by choosing differently. Some of the things that you're involved with right now, you're doing out of default, or you're doing out of devotion or responsibility when maybe somebody needs to earn a little bit of that away from you. I mean, the example I can give you here today is like, should my 17-year-old son be maybe doing his own laundry, getting him ready to go away to college in a couple of months? Yes, he should earn that away from me. And we're working on that, right? I don't need to be doing all of that. So that's just a simple example of how are we helping people, or how are we unleashing our control freak in certain situations because we're like, oh, well, I'll do it better than they will. Let them do it, but let them earn it away from you. Show them your best practices. This is the same for your team members, same for your family members that are ready for that next level, right? And Kelly's saying help versus enablement. Yes, a lot of times because we are the most well-meaning, amazing givers and people pleasers, we will do it for people. And then we enable the fact that we're doing everything now because they're like, well, if they want to do it, I'll let them do it. Where do you see that in your life? Where can you give yourself a little bit of a break from that in your life? And how can you help and empower your son to do his laundry or whatever your example is? But I'm telling you, if you can remove a few of those things that drain you, a few of those things that distract you. I mean, I have a classic example right here, the weapon of mass distraction. That's what I've called it for years. If you guys have seen me speak, I speak about it every time. I got the latest statistics on this little thing. Now, this is amazing. This is an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool that's in the palm of our hand. But the latest numbers are we're spending about 5 hours a day, like scrolling on this thing. About 3 hours on social media is the average, which amounts to, if you put all the numbers together, 70 full days a year spent on this thing. Not something that talks to us, not something that gives us great energy, not connections with family, friends, clients. This is a great tool to stay in touch. It's also, it can totally take you down because you expect to respond to people immediately. And sometimes they expect it, right? And Randy's saying, iPhone is the biggest distraction. Yeah, it's a beautiful tool, but just like fire, if it's not managed, it'll burn the whole house down. It'll burn the whole house down. So we've got to put boundaries around that. The average adult checks their phone 159 times a day. That is, I get it. They want us addicted to it. I get it. We can take back a little bit of that power. Kelly's saying that's over 2 months in Europe. Yes, girl. Come on. Let's go to Italy. Instead of being on the let's use the tools. Let's use the technology, but let's not let it use us. Are you guys with me on that? I mean, I got off on a little bit of a tangent there because I can't help myself. But I truly believe, I mean, it happens to me too, where I'm like, I'm just going to go in and post that thing. And 15 minutes later, I'll be like, whoa, what happened? Like it's designed to pull you in and keep you there. So set a timer if you have to. And there are some people, like some days, honestly, I want to sit on my phone and scroll for 10 minutes. And all I want to do is look at, at cat and puppy videos. That's all I want to do. And I know that that sounds crazy, but that can change the chemistry in your brain. And it also changes the algorithm on your phone. Like the more you watch the nature stuff and the fun, the good stuff, the more of it you'll get. And so sometimes I feel like you need that to just, you want to laugh a little bit. It makes you happy. Yes, do it. But just make sure you put a little boundary, a sacred line, I like to call it, around it. I'm not saying give up the scrolling. I'm just saying to manage it a little bit better, like the fire. And if some of that stuff brings you joy and makes you happy and doesn't bring you down into the depths of despair like some of it does, let's do more of those things. Anyway, back to my original action step. Remove a couple things from the list, and I feel like you can definitely carve out at least 30 minutes to an hour from the weapon of mass distraction alone, that you could focus in on somebody that you love, that you could focus in on your business, that you could focus in on doing something way more productive. Um, and I know you know. So just a little reminder. So eliminate what's stopping you so that we can open up a little more opportunity for freedom, a little more opportunity for that next step forward. And that all begins and comes down to, what does freedom look like for me in this season? We've all been learning about the seasons of our growth for years and years, and we've all done so well with that. But sometimes we get so busy in all the things that we've put on our plate that we don't pause to say, okay, right now, I am the caregiver for someone in my family. Right now, I have these things that are priorities in my business. Right now, I'm part of this volunteer organization for something that really needs my attention right now in my local neighborhood. So we all, and that's continually ebbing and flowing. So it's just, in fact, I do this every morning almost, where I'm like, what does freedom look like for me today? Instead of, maybe you're not looking at the whole picture globally. You don't have to. It's like, so for today, how can I give myself a little bit more freedom? Even if it's going out for that walk in nature for 15 minutes. Maybe you don't have an hour to go to the gym, but what can you do to get that feeling of freedom? And what is it for you that creates that freedom feeling? Because sometimes if you just create that feeling, that gives you great capacity. That gives you, you're like, okay, I took a little break. I went and did something great for myself, or just took a few minutes to defrag, to unplug. And that gave me more energy. That gave me more capacity. So what does freedom look like for me in this season or today? If you're some of us right now, I feel like you're in hand-to-hand combat. It's moment by moment. It's moment by moment. Depending on the clients you have, depending on what's happening in your family, depending on what's happening with your health, moment by moment. What does freedom look like for me today or this morning? Right? And here are some pictures of that freedom, right? This is what we're all working for anyway, isn't it? Time with our grandkids and our kids, our pets, our people, playing pickleball if that's it for you. And yeah, we want it to be abundantly financially amazing too. Yes, freedom, flexibility, financial abundance. That's why we all got in. And over time, we construct the cage around us. And there's so much of it we have some control over. Not to just destroy the cage. That's not what we want. There's freedom and structure, right? But it's like, what needs to change right now so I can feel a little more free? Whether that's an hour to yourself, or going to work on your golf game, or going to make sure you're spending some time knitting, or whatever it is for you. Let's make sure we plug in those pockets of peace. Make sure we plug in those moments that we're creating with the people we love. So many good things that we're working for, but a lot of times real estate, if unmanaged, takes you away from the very reasons we got in. So just a reminder, what does freedom look like for you in this season? And like I said, sometimes it's today. What is the one little thing I can do today to give myself a little more freedom or a little more focus? We're going to talk more about focus in a moment, but here are some good questions to just think about. What do I get paid to do that I'm great at and enjoy? I know in this industry, it's real easy to, Heather and I were talking about this earlier too. So Heather, I love that. I hope you don't mind me using it as an example. I think it's such an important one because it happens to so many of us. You're in this business of real estate. It is chaotic by nature, and it's like a moving target, right? And at any given time of the day, you have different bombs that are going to go off and fires that you have to put out. The thing I want you to ask yourself is, okay, if I'm doing a lot of that running, right? Like, oh, the sign fell down. I got to go put that back up. Or the key over here got lost. Or all of those crazy things that don't necessarily need you. You know what I'm talking about? People need you to help them navigate the Poseidon adventure of a transaction. They need you for negotiation. They need you to help protect their interests. They need you as the fiduciary responsibility, but they don't need you to run around and do all those other things that some of us tend to do, right? Where you're like, oh, this thing happened over here at this listing. I've got to go take care of that. If that's happening to you a lot, how can we leverage that? Who do you need in your life that could do that for you? Like, is there a high school or college student or somebody that's getting their license that could get your whatever social media done for you, which I know Be Epic Marketing does a lot of this cool stuff for you, which is amazing. And it's all automated, which is even better. But what are things, where do you keep getting stuck? Where you're like, I got to take care of that. I got to take care of that. And it's seemingly like at the last minute, but you could put a structure in place to help you with that, to make sure that you're staying focused in on what you get paid to do, that you're great at, that you're hired for, that you actually enjoy. Because if you're freed up to be in that space more, then you're going to be able to impact a whole lot more people. You're going to be able to serve a whole lot more families, and you're going to have a little more time for yourself and your loved ones too. So I got off on a bit of a tangent there to look around to see what's draining and what's distracting you. Where could there maybe be someone you could put into place there that could help you and leverage your time and energy with that to give you more freedom or to give you an opportunity to have a little more joy or a little more energy or a little more peace in your day? And how can I create more space and freedom in my day is a key piece. So I'll share some examples and I'd love to see from you because, like I said, we're all doing this. We're all creating some freedom and focus, or we have over the years, and you have best practices that have worked for you before, or you have things that you want to try now. And I'd love to have you share in the chat what are ways that you create a little more joy in your day or that you give yourself a little more freedom. Share them with each other. How do you set the sacred boundaries around yourself and your business so that you can also live a fulfilling life, right? And what is getting in the way right now that's an obstacle of that? Because maybe we've drifted from those sacred lines, or maybe, the habits that we're in aren't serving us any longer. So this is just it's a really great thing to do, to just check in and say, you know what? I am the CEO of my business. I am it. I get to choose. I get to decide. And so I can choose that, you know what? I'm feeling like a crispy critter recently because I have had to work extra. Everything takes a little longer. None of these transactions are easy. Okay, so yes, I'm seeing some things coming in. This is awesome. So Dayla talking with her grandson is a beautiful reset. And that takes 5 minutes, right? Kelly took Wednesday afternoons off to be with her mom. Yes. And 5 a.m., she does things just for her. Me too. Sacred space in the morning. Me too. Sacred space in the evening. Even if it's 10 minutes to just connect with yourself. Kat has no meetings on Fridays. Love. I also have Freedom Fridays, Kat. I love that. No meetings then. Susan starts each morning with silence and affirmations, and her iPhone turns off apps 30 minutes before bedtime. I love it. Mine also goes on to do not disturb after 7 p.m., right? Until 8 a.m. the next morning, because that well-meaning texter at 5:30 their time may not be received by me very well, right? But we can create some of these things. Let's see what else. Oh, we got so many great ideas. Check out the chat. Amy says, I try and give my dogs a little more of my time. It was one of my favorite ways to create peace for myself. We are each other's emotional support animal. That's what I've said about me and my dog. We need each other, and they give unconditional love, and they remind us to be present, to quit rushing. You know, when they're sniffing the air and they're paying attention to what's around them, it's beautiful. Robin says instead of 20 things on her to-do list, change it to 3. Yes. Take Wednesdays off. Yes. Swimming toward a goal. Yes. Open water invigorates you. God bless you, Tyler. It terrifies me. I've even tried to get over that fear many times. But yes, do what you love. Do what you love. I love what Karen says. She hires a driver for the day sometimes so she can return calls from the back seat. And it allows her to finish her day earlier. It is genius. Like, I mean, really, we have just all that this mastermind right here is just brilliant. Dorian has the top people in her life, and every decision she makes has to benefit them or me, or it's a no. Don't even get me started on no being a complete sentence. Yeah, but it is. And so I appreciate you bringing that up because here's what I'd like you to do. And I talk about this a little bit deeper in my book. Um, I have the knowing filters. So when you're asked to do something, because you're all asked, because you're all busy, wonderful people, and you get a lot of stuff done, right? So people naturally are going to come to you to get stuff done. The next time you're asked to put something in your schedule, I want you instead of to blurt out yes, like you do most of the time, I want you to pause. And I want you to just say, oh my gosh, thank you for thinking of me. I need to just check some things out and see if I can give it the attention it deserves. So I'll get back to you tomorrow. And then when you go away from that, I want you to put on your knowing filters like KNOW, knowing. When you were approached and asked to do whatever that was, how did your body feel? Were you like, ugh, that's like, I'd rather have my fingernails pulled out one at a time than do that again? Or I had committed to that in the past and I've just said yes because I've just always done it. You know what I mean? The next time you're asked to add something else to the wild, wonderful life that you have, to the limited number of hours that you have, put it through your knowing filters. How did my body react? Was it excited and joyful? Or was it like, and respond accordingly. Thank you so much. So grateful you thought of me. I know I've done it for the last 8 years. I can't commit to it today. Love you. Thank you. No, it's a complete sentence. It's a complete sentence. Oh, and I love what Heather shared here too. Happy hour Friday with the team. So they get the feeling of freedom too. Yes. And when you can do that with the people that work with you and for you, man, then everybody's even more bought in. That's how we create great culture and great energy is when they get to benefit from all of the hard work that everybody's doing together. So again, just some reminders. Let's make sure that we're focused in on our highest and best use instead of trying to do it all. And then work in these pockets of peace for yourself, for your loved ones, for your pets, the things that you love, what gives you joy. That's why we're living anyways. That's why we got into real estate. And so my action for this one and my reminder is that freedom requires space to listen. And in fact, I think it's a radical act of freedom to give yourself space. It's something that we're not very good at. So over the next couple of weeks, this conversation I hope will stay with you. And start thinking about these questions I'm reminding you of to begin creating your own freedom framework. Is it Freedom Fridays where you're not meeting on Friday? Or is it a Tuesday afternoon? I don't care when it is. See what works best for you and your business in your life right now in this season. And then begin adding these freedom choices to your day and to your week. Helping you with that is my third point today, which is designing your day to move the needle. But as I mentioned before, it's not just moving the needle because it's not really about the money, is it? Although we need it. And the more money we have, the more good we can do in the world. It's true. But so it's not just how can I move the needle? It's also how can I love the life I'm living, right? Instead of needing the vacation from it. How many memes have we seen where it's like, yeah, I'm creating a life I don't need a vacation from, right? But we all love to go to those places. So, how do we design that? As the CEOs of our lives, where you are your most valuable asset, the number one thing I've seen the top performers do, and you guys know this, is they choose wisely. So, I love to talk about this like we curate our day. And I love curate because when you hear it, you're like, what are you talking about? You're talking about an art museum? You're talking about a masterpiece? Yeah. I'm talking about this masterpiece that we're building called your life. Yes. And curate, I love the definition to select, to organize, to look after. And I didn't know this until I was doing research in it a few years ago when I was writing my book. It's like it's derived from the Latin term to care for. Curare. And what we tend to do, especially in this industry, is we just throw more stuff on the overflowing plate. Yay. He can do it. He's busy. He can do it. She can do it. Yep, she's a warrior. But do we have to? Is it necessary for this season? We need to curate our day. And here, I understand. Our days, a lot of times, you got to shift to plan B for some of the things that break out. Yes. But let's still try to get in a couple of those pockets of peace and a couple of those pockets of focus, and still we're thriving. But if we don't set up the system first, where we're like, no, this is how I'd like it to go, this is my best intentions, and I'm going to do my best to protect it, then we'll settle for whatever shows up. And you guys know that that's true because that's sometimes how we operate in this industry. So how do we do that? Well, we got to protect the time for what matters most. Not everything. Saying no to misaligned good things, that's a difficult thing to do. If you've gotten to a place where buyers take up a ton of your time and you'd rather just focus on listings, then maybe we need a system in place and we need a good couple of people there to help leverage our time and energy there. So maybe you don't have to say no, but you can say, I've got an amazing person to help you with that. And we got to go deep with the important. And Kelly's, yep, put the important things in first. Urgent can fill in the blanks. And it will, and it does. and it will, and it does. So I had to share this story because God rest his soul. We lost Coach Lou a few days ago. And some of you were probably at that leadership conference that we spoke at in 2007. Dare I say that? Which, by the way, when I did that presentation, I had no idea what I was doing, but that's another seminar. But I got to speak with him backstage. And I was like, okay, coach, how did you do it? Like, how did you take that team that was losing? And in that next season, you turn them into winners. Like they went to win the big bowl in the college arena. Okay, how did you do that? He said it all comes down to the question, what's important now? Where I trained my players in this mindset of what's important now. Is it more important for me to go to that party or to go study for that test and go eat a good dinner? Now, do we always make the great decision when we're like, what's important now? Should I binge watch Game of Thrones? Because I just actually started watching that series. Or should I, you know, go and do some lead generation or follow up with my clients to create conversations, right? What's important now? So, what are your VIPs in this season? It's so important for us to just go in and go, oh, right now, these are the things. For all the crazy, beautiful stuff I have going on, these are the things. It can't be everything. You'll never get to it. You'll never get to it. So right now, who are your most important people? Priorities, purpose, projects. It can't be everything. And you can get to those later, maybe, but let's do the important stuff first. That's how they won it all. That's why he was revered as one of the best coaches that they've ever seen. And that's why he left such a legacy that he did. What's important now? And sometimes we got to do that moment by moment where we have that challenge breakout, we have that urgent thing breakout that only we can take care of. Then we need to say, okay, what's important now? That's important now. I'm going to go do that. And then I'm going to work this in over here because that's life, right? And there's so many beautiful things that happen that way and other things. What's important now has helped me tremendously through the chaos to create those pockets of peace. So I have to say it real quick. I've already said it. You are your number one asset. I'm going to remind you that sleep is one of the best things you can do for high performance. It's one of the best things you can do for focus. It's one of the best ways that you can enjoy your freedom when you have it. It's the way the body recovers and defrags. It's like plugging in the smartphone, weapon of mass distraction. The food you're eating 80% of the time, clean water, making sure you do take some time to relax. Gratitude is powerful, and I know I'm preaching to the choir now. And fun, which you all do really well too. But if you haven't had some of these things lately, how can we plug them in and make those the habits to take care of our number one asset? When we do, it increases our productivity. It increases our energy and brain function. It boosts our mood and lowers depression and anxiety. I mean, even a walking meditation increases your productivity by 120%. Gratitude can reduce toxic emotions and improve your sleep and your mental strength. There's the payoff. There's the payoff. You are your number one asset. I believe that that's your number one VIP. Kelly says she just started the book Good Energy by Casey Means. Awesome book. Awesome book. Living life in chaos is more damaging and life-threatening than we realize. Yes, it is. I mean, the number one cause of doctor visits today, up to 90% of them are stress related. And that's like, yeah, we live in there. You live in that fight or flight in this industry. You've got to get off the crazy train once in a while. You don't have to take off the cape all the time, but you do have to dry clean the superhero cape. Okay. Tyler says Heather just did a great newsletter on this and specifically her morning routine, which covers a lot of these things. Yes, yes, yes. And then Susan wants a copy of the newsletter. I love how this works. Yeah, so how do we curate? Who and what are my VIPs in this season? Now, it can help with anxiety too and overwhelm to just dump out your whole list. I highly recommend it. Dump out the whole list, but then go back to that list and go, okay, what are my top three? What are my top three? And if you check those off, you can move on to the rest of it. But if we don't get the top three done, mm, then we're missing something. Maybe one of your VIPs right now is what skill do I need to learn or upgrade in the marketplace that I'm in right now? Where have I been struggling in my business? What need, or where could I get leverage? Or where do I need a bit bigger skill, a better skill? And that systems are key. What system do I need to implement, or do I need to streamline to give yourself leverage, to give yourself freedom? Do you see these seemingly insignificant choices can lead to that freedom, can lead to more focus? Because when we're focused on fewer things, I think you would all agree with me, we have better attention, which time is not our most valuable asset anymore. It's attention. We're in an attention deficit age. That's what they call it. Everybody is looking to get a bit of your mind share. And if we're trying to look at it all and save it all and help it all, we won't be able to do very much for anybody. And if we're depleted, even less. So we got to choose what matters. For the next 30 days, choose 3 to 5 VIPs. And I mean 3 to 5 for your business and your life, like total. Try to keep the list shorter if you can and let them guide your decisions and then plug them into your calendar. Plug them into your calendar. You guys know I've been talking about this for years. And one of the ways I love doing this and how you create your freedom is starting with the blank slate first. Instead of going back to the overwhelming calendar, and you got to kind of do what works best for you, but I would start with a clean slate and say, how would I like it to look? Like, and it wouldn't be tomorrow. How would I like it to look? Like, would I like to work toward Freedom Fridays? Would I like to take Saturday fully off? Would I like to be able to travel 3 months out of the year? How would I make that happen? And then what's my first step toward that? What's my first step towards that? Beginning with the clean slate and then putting in the stuff that matters. The stuff that you know needs to happen, and then creating space for the peaceful pockets and the pockets of focus. So I want to share with you, focus obviously doesn't just happen. We have to create the conditions for it. So when we time block, like we all have learned how to do, I think it's crucial, number one, to create your environment. Do not try to do it with everything else open, all the other windows. Do not disturb. What I do is I carve out the time in my schedule, even if it's only 30 minutes or even 15 if you have to start there right now. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb. I put the instrumental music on in my ears and I set a timer because there's magic in the deadlines. Like y'all know that because you're maybe about to apply for your, tax extension on April 15th if you don't get them done, right? You know the power of a deadline. I see you, Dela. The power of the deadline. That's why if you go back to my calendar, there's white space in there. There's space in between stuff, right? And there's deadlines too, so that when I'm done, because I'm going to be more intentional if I have a deadline than I would be otherwise, than if it was a multiple choice question and I just allowed whatever to run my day. So those deadlines are key. And then there's scientific evidence everywhere that says, listen, a power interval, you can get so much more done in 33 minutes. I love 33-minute intervals. I try to do 3 of them at a time where I go 33 minutes, I take a little break for my, brain that loves distraction, and I do a reset and I go take a little walk and I get back to it. Maybe you can only do one of those. Create your environment, give yourself a magic deadline, and do those power intervals for your VIPs. We can create that focus and that framework. If you haven't read it, a book by Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art, is one of my favorites. It's a little series, and it says if you commit to nothing, you'll be distracted by everything. What are your top VIPs for this season? Where are they in your calendar? And then let's do our best to protect it. And if the fire breaks out, make sure it's your urgency, not somebody else's. And then go to a plan B, which is what's important now. So here are 6 ways to protect your focus and peace. Say no without guilt. Get quiet before the world gets loud. Do your best to release unrealistic expectations that you've put on yourself or your clients have gotten used to. Let's reset those expectations. Commit to and protect your VIPs. Work in power intervals and have a hard stop on your workday so that you are free to go do those other things that light you up. Be with the people that you love and do the things that you love. And that's my hope and prayer for everybody here today. I know we're at our time. I wanted to offer a free resource. If you wanted to go grab it, you can download it at the QR code here or at jamienowak.com. It kind of walks you through designing your daily flow if you want a little more support in what we talked about today and how to create focus, freedom, and fulfillment. Because that's what we all want. And that's what we all really need to live our best life and to have a powerful, amazing business where we serve our clients for 30 or 40 or 50 years, creating that amazing legacy that I've watched my mom do too. So I want to thank you all for showing up today. I know your time is valuable. So good to see so many beautiful people here. If you just want us to stay connected, you can get on there and get that resource. And then I send out an email maybe once a month to stay in touch and give you some things that are working really well in my own life and the people that I'm helping. But I'm just so grateful for Be Epic, for Heather, for Kat, for Brooke, for bringing us all together today. So thankful to be here. I don't know, do we want to wrap up with anything? Heather, Kat?
I want to say thank you. That was incredible. I think a lot of us needed it. I know I'm guilty of like saying yes, 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 but you always
Right.
sacrifice when you do that, right? So I'm working on that this year. It's a work in progress because yes is like so ingrained in my vocabulary, but this was amazing. And hey, for any of you guys out there, if you want to create freedom in your business and you need help with your marketing, reach out to Kat or I. We would love to chat with you. We have an amazing marketing suite where we do it all for you. So you can do what you do best and sell houses. So, but Jamie, you were amazing. Kat, you want to end on any note?
I think you guys pretty much hit everything. Yeah, no, I just really appreciate you coming on here. Good to see you again. And yeah, I feel like I know that I needed to hear this message. It sounds like some other people did too. So we appreciate you guys being here and yeah, being a part of our community that we're trying to build.
Good reminders, right? We all need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep shining, everybody. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Jamie.
much.
Thanks,
Thank,
everyone. See you
See
next
you
month.
soon.
thank
Okay.
you.